Home Podcast time.
Well, that's right. Binford Tools is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam. You'll know my co-host Jordan. Hey, Jordan, how you doing?
What's up, my partner in crime? How you doing?
Hey, PIC's doing the damn thing.
Don't you know it, man? How's this spooky October treating you?
It's Oc 1, and I think anybody that listened last week knows what I owe you all, right? I think we all know what time it is.
It's not even tool time anymore. It's fall time.
It's fall time, so, I've been talking about riffing on fall for,
2 years?
Seems like about a month now, so. Problem is, though, it's raining out, it's pretty dreary, and there's thunder, so it doesn't feel like fall. It just kind of feels dreary, but I got a riff on it, nevertheless.
You remember what fall was like before, in yesteryears.
Well, here's the thing, though. For me, every fall, a little bit different. So, hard to predict what this one will offer, but where would you like me to start, Jordan? Just kind of give me a theme. And the beginning of fall? Okay. Sure. Yeah, the beginning is a good place to start. Okay, so, yeah, it's fall. Obviously, you have, leaves are changing colors. You have apple orchards. You have Halloween. You have football. You have sweater weather, pumpkin spice latte, warm soups, like casseroles in general as well. That'll give way into Thanksgiving eventually, and those are kind of words that I associate with fall. So, yeah, it's all good stuff, all things that I love. So that's pretty much all I got for you.
I can't go wrong. That was not quite the tangent I expected. Do you have any spooky fall things that you do? Are you gonna do a book this year or a movie? I'm sure you're gonna just watch was it Hocus Pocus on repeat for the next 30 days?
Repeat for the next 30 days. Yeah, so, for October, I like to really get into the spirit. We're Halloween decorated here as of last week, so I'm feeling festive in that way. Yeah, I'll try to watch quite a few horror movies. I always like to watch some horror, television specials as well. We did a Cheers episode on Patreon, so that's available if you want to give money and hear that. That was fun, I think, for me. Not going to speak for you. But I like to watch TV specials. Will I read a book? Yeah, I've been reading. I've been on kind of a Stephen King kick again, so I'm reading I'm going to Maine next week. For a professional development thing.
For a Stephen King,
I will be going to his hometown, so I'll see.
I'm sure you will be
some of the sites and stuff, his house and so on. So I got to read a Stephen King book while I'm in Maine. That would be in poor taste not to. And you mentioned Hocus Pocus, and I also have plans to visit Salem, Massachusetts. So some potential spooky witch stuff there. So that'll be we're recording in advance, so I'll talk about that in a couple episodes from now.
Just teasing it. What was weren't you just asking me about a movie? Oh, Arsenic and Old Lace. Is that Did you already watch that, or is that on your watch list?
So it's a local theater. A bunch of local theaters do Halloween programming, and that was something that was playing, but I'm going to be in Maine, so I'll miss it, unfortunately. No, I can, I'll get it on DVD or something, though.
Yeah, it's
and
available.
Watch it that way. Yeah, I was going to go see it, because I remember you mentioned that you liked it years ago at this point, but yeah, I'm fired up for my Maine trip, and spooky stuff coming this month, big horror movie guy. Kirsten and I like to get into Halloween stuff, so...
Is this where you're going to launch your YouTube channel?
Hi, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
It's spooky stuff.
Spooky stuff, yeah.
You can document your trip, all that kind of stuff.
Only on my Instagram, probably. I'll take some pictures and post them there, but beyond that, no, the YouTube stuff, we're working on some YouTube stuff, you and I, so...
Has it?
No, that's true. We are.
We say we are, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're working in so much as we talk about it, and we have basically we have plans to complete plans. Planning the plans. We're kind of at that stage, but Yeah, man, riffing on fall. It's awesome. It's the best time of year. The Lions are kind of maybe good. Hard to say. I like fall foods. I like horror movies. It's a great time to be me. It's probably a pretty good time to be you as well, Jordan.
It's not too bad. I'm waiting. I got about 2 weeks until it finally starts cooling down here, so I'm just counting down the days. But
yeah, it was like 85 here yesterday, which is, October 1st, 85 in the Midwest. Pretty random.
I don't have anything fall related going on right now, but in a couple weeks we will be going to a pumpkin patch, which, as you can imagine, in Florida is a bit different. So we'll see.
Is it all inflatable pumpkins?
No, they have real pumpkins. There's just a lot less of them, and they're not nearly as big.
And they're sad.
Yeah, they're kind of sad pumpkins. Last year we tried to go to one, and it was so busy that the line was like miles down the road to get in, and we ended up just leaving. So there's not very many of them as well, so that makes it at a premium getting into those places. But Disney does some good stuff for Halloween. If you want to pay for a ticket and whatnot, but I don't think we'll be going this year to that. Maybe next year. And tonight we're doing a game night, but I don't think there's any Halloween-themed games we have going. And
I don't think anyone's actually coming, right? It's just like you and your wife, right?
I don't even think my wife's going to be there.
It's just you. We're doing a game night, me and my daughter.
The scariest game that I do have is the Home Improvement board game.
Ooh, that is scary. Confusing, I would imagine. Someday we'll maybe... Nah, no, we won't. The best thing about that board game is just the box and finding it for $2. That was the best part.
That was the best thing, and one day we'll auction it off.
Jordan, kind of transitioning more into the home improvement stuff. I'm going to Maine for like a writing retreat, and I needed to edit a piece of writing, or I need to bring like some long form writing, and I haven't written anything like nonfiction in quite a while. So I went back to my grad school archives, and I wrote a long essay on my brother. Maybe you edited, maybe you didn't.
I did.
Yeah, so it was near the end of grad school, and this is pre-Home Podcast, but it's 9 pages, and one of the pages mentions home improvement. So full circle. What do you know?
Seeds were being planted even then.
I guess it's just such an integral part of my youth that I felt the need to mention it in a personal essay. So yeah, I was editing that today, and I was surprised and pleased to come across it. So
I'm so pleased, and we're so pleased to talk about this episode, I think.
Yeah, I
mean, kind of sad, but you get to bring on one of your favorite guests.
Well, yeah, and he will. I want to say this episode it's not meatless like last week, but it's
last week wasn't even meatless. So.
It was 98% meatless, which is like most meat byproduct is probably actually 98% meatless. At the end of this discussion, the episode, there will be a short performance, and I just want to tease that. So
wow, short performance.
I mean, you don't know what this is going to be.
I have no idea. This is news to me, but I can't wait. So I guess in order to get to that, we need to get through the episode, and we're going to do that. I'm going to say something to you that I never thought I would say.
Yeah,
Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 150.
Isn't that insane? Wow. Most marriages don't last this long. 150 years? Hardly any of them.
150 years, huh?
Yeah, they never. I mean, I haven't heard of a wedding or a marriage lasting that long. Have you? 150 years?
I mean, I don't know why you're saying 150 years, but sure.
I mean, if episodes are years, I mean, long time.
I don't think they are.
I mean, very few people
might feel like that, and some
very
don't.
few people are married that long. 150 years?
Very few. All right. Well, this one's called Taps.
Podcasts are like marriages, Jordan.
I don't like where this is going, so I'm just going to ignore it. This one's written by Bruce Ferber and Lloyd Garver. They last did Working Man Blues, in which Brad got a job. Job.
That was a long time ago.
Well, it was the one where he got a job at that sports superstore, so not that
long ago. Okay, yeah. But there's a lot of Brad job episodes. Marriages are like jobs also, Jordan, if I could say that as well. So 150 years of being married, a long time.
May 13th, 1997, that's when this aired. Mm-hmm. And, I think most people get the Taps reference, but
I didn't until I saw it online. You knew what this was?
You knew what Taps is?
No, I didn't. I did not know what it meant from a militaristic perspective until I read the IMDb trivia.
I mean, I knew it was associated with funerals, specifically of military personnel.
You did?
Yes.
How did you know that? Someone in your family or something? Or are you just kind of worldly?
The latter and the former.
Well, there you go. You are the target audience. Yeah, I was not familiar with taps, but yeah, it made sense. I got to the end of the episode, and I was like, the whole episode, I was like, when is Jill gonna like find a picture from her tap dancing? Or,
yeah, that really threw you off.
When does tap dancing come into this episode? And it never did. So yeah, I learned something new, which doesn't always happen.
Still waiting on that tap dancing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess it's alternative title time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How many do you have?
5.
5. Wow.
I'm back in the saddle shoes again, as they say.
As you say, mostly. Yeah. Why don't you lead off then?
Okay. First one. Survivor's remorse.
That's good.
Thank you.
I have one generally related to that. So, guilt trip.
Good one. A funny funeral.
Correct.
I mean, it kind of was.
Yeah,
there was a lot more yucks than normal.
Tim's on point. All right. The Colonel's Last Stand.
Really good. R.I.P. Rest in Patton. He loves Patton.
Oh, it's good though. It's really good.
Thanks.
Bizarro Tim.
Because he behaves so well?
Yeah, he gets everything right in this episode.
All right, 2 more. 21 Gun Salute. Like, cheers. Not salute, salute.
Why didn't you just do 21 Gun Salute?
Seemed to like too out. Like, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's not that fun.
So you had to throw a little something.
Yeah, a little something.
All right.
You have one more? Or
last one for me.
Okay.
Sicker than a hound dog.
Sicker than a hound dog. What? Okay. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Sicker than a hound dog. Okay, sure. Last one for me. Best for last.
As usual.
Hey, Mark, that doesn't suit you.
It's always good when you do a sentence instead of a phrase.
It's always. I like to do like, hey, blank, or blank, more like blank.
It's a lot of like punchlines and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good. Yeah, you don't see many long titles for episodes, but on this show you do. So.
I mean, at least like it's better than Taps. Taps doesn't even make sense to me, and I know almost everything. There was no tap dancing here.
I would say, in honor of the Colonel, we brought out our best alternative titles.
I've been off for a couple weeks, so yeah, for the Colonel, I did have to step up to the plate. Absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, let's get into it. Let's start at home.
Okay.
Jill is coming in to the whole fam, and she's talking about school. This perpetual school year that goes on forever. Jill got a 4.0, so she's pretty stoked. You know, a lot of hard work went into the last few weeks to get, I guess, all of her exams done or papers or whatever she has that aren't ever mentioned until right after they happen. She feels like she can just relax finally until the phone rings. Ring, 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 ring.
Okay. Was that your soundboard?
That was your soundboard.
It wasn't my soundboard, so it must have been... Oh, man. Things are already getting spooky. Ghost in the machine. Hi.
It's the Colonel on the line, and he wants to come visit this weekend, and Jill is not excited about this. Tim's the actual one who answered the phone, and he's trying to, play... monkey in the middle here. I'm not sure what to call it, but he's trying to not get in too much trouble. Jill does not want the Colonel to come. She just wants to relax. So she gets the phone, pretends to be sick, and it works. The Colonel backs off, and he's not going to come visit. And the boys are disappointed. They saw their mom do something shameful, lie to their grandpa. She tries to defend herself, and they say, does this give us like a blank check to do this when we get older for you? And Jill's just kind of flailing in this moment of weakness for her, not looking great, to her kids. And there's, I would say, maybe a bit of foreshadowing here. She says, I'm dying, and then they talk about a headstone. And
definitely. Subtle, though. This is subtle.
Very subtle, yeah. So that's the opening scene. Jill lied to her father.
Yeah, I gotta say, though, like, from Jill's perspective, totally get it. Like, if your parents are gonna come and, like, you have to deal with that whole to-do, like, I need a lot more notice than what they're giving. Obviously, knowing what we know, if she could do it all over again, she would have changed what she did. But at that moment, I get it. Sure.
Are you saying that your parents are a bit high maintenance?
I'm saying that whenever parents come visit, it is a kind of unique proposition. Can be a little bit stressful. It just it is the antithesis of relaxing. Get to the end of the school year, you want to relax. I've been referred to as an academic at times, so definitely totally get what she's going through. I'm just saying that if your parents say they're coming in like 2 days, I get where she's coming from, and that's that.
I don't know. I don't agree. My parents are just very relaxing.
I disagree with your analysis of your parents. Sorry.
All right. Well,
maybe one half of your parents are relaxing.
One half, like
one of
person?
them is, one of them is not. Yeah.
All right. Outdoors. Next scene, we get Wilson pretty early on here.
We do, yeah.
And he just wrapped up a garage sale. I guess he's not so sentimental about some of his stuff, or maybe he has too many stuff, or maybe he got a bunch more stuff from a trip and he's getting rid of some old stuff. We just don't know. But he did bring Tim a special gift, and it is a wooden throne, but Tim prefers porcelain.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Toilet joke. I haven't had one in a while.
No.
Did you expect Felix to pop up right here?
From where?
I don't know.
The bushes?
Just seems like whenever a toilet's mentioned, Felix, he comes a-calling.
Hey guys, remember me? I'm on this show. No, I didn't think about Felix. I at first I thought, okay, Wilson's having a garage sale. Is he going to be like, you know how like when you go to a garage sale when people kind of think their stuff is worth more than it is? Typically like wealthy people, they don't know how much to charge for, like they just like think like things are worth as much as they paid for them. And I thought at first, is Wilson going to be like that? Major pet peeve for me. But we find out later he's charging like 80 cents for things, so that fear was sort of
unfounded.
It went away. Yeah, unfounded. So.
Yeah, it seems like your kind of garage sale.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really like
If there was a nice wooden pipe with a story, you'd been all over it.
I don't know why you think I haven't smoked a pipe in 5 years. That's not true.
I just
Less
expect
than 5
you.
years.
You just mentioned you were an academic. You're sitting back in your chair, and you've got your robe on, and you got your pipe, and you're just puffing away and reading a good book. So
yeah, I mean that doesn't sound all that bad. Wilson's stuff is kind of scary though, so that would be the start and end for me. Like he has just like African masks and stuff, and I'm not trying to bring that into my house.
No, but Al and Heidi are trying to bring something into their house, and they're fighting specifically over an antique cheese whipper.
Heidi's got that Detroit Lions XXL shirt that we often see Tim in. I like that. I don't know. Yeah, I thought maybe it was gonna like amount to something, but everybody just has that shirt, and
everybody just loves the Lions in the 90s.
I want one too. Hey, Barry Sanders here is a lot to be happy about.
So they're fighting over like how much it's going to cost. As you said, Wilson is selling stuff for pretty cheap, but 80 cents is too much for Al. Brad comes out with the phone. It's Lillian, and we get it's not a curveball because we know what's going to happen here, but everything in the episode has not pointed to this at this point, and the Colonel has passed, and the mood changes in the episode. There was a sudden heart attack, and the Taylors are going to be off to Texas.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. During this scene, you get like Wilson, Heidi, and Al kind of poking their heads over the fence, and I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be funny or not because the visual is sort of humorous, but the tone of the scene is very much the opposite. I guess it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was just sort of a weird juxtaposition. I don't know if you noticed that at all.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, they were all just kind of like paying attention to what was going on. Yeah. And I don't know what the intent was. I guess my guess was concern.
Yeah, I guess just concern. But something about them all three poking their heads over.
It would have been worse if there was like a hole in the fence and you could only see their eyeballs. How about that?
When you said hole in the fence, I didn't know what you were going to talk about seeing next.
Oh, man. Just eyeballs, Adam.
All right. Next scene. Inside. Tim is, I guess he's talking to what you would call, what's the profession that used to exist where people plan your trips?
Travel agent?
Travel agent, I guess? I don't know.
They still exist.
Yeah, well, how much longer? I don't know. I mean,
it seems in our busy world that they might be more valuable than ever.
Well, let's just
Who has time to plan a fancy trip?
Let's just see how that works out for him. Okay, check back next year. Tim is he's booking a flight for Jill. He's really taking charge. And This is really unfortunate. I mean, I guess the whole episode is unfortunate, but particularly here, Jill comes home after an incredible day. You know, she went out shopping, she relaxed.
She got an herbal wrap.
Which is probably not edible. I guess it's probably like a massage or something. I don't know. Herbal wrap.
I thought it was something for like her face, maybe. I don't know.
Not something at Panera, I guess.
I don't think so.
Okay. And Tim has to break the news. And Jordan, I think we're going to make this our clip of the episode right here.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi.
What an incredible day I had. I went to the Modern Art Museum. Then I met Patty for lunch. We went shopping. We got herbal wraps. You cannot imagine how good I feel.
Your mom called a while ago.
Oh, no, let me guess. She's mad because I wouldn't let her come this weekend.
Honey?
What, is something wrong?
It's about your dad.
My dad, what?
He had a heart attack this morning. He didn't make it, honey.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
He fell asleep in that old recliner in the den, and he never woke up. He didn't suffer at all.
Heart attack. I can't believe this. I just talked to him. He sounded fine.
I know.
What about Mom?
She's holding up real well. I booked you on a flight first thing in the morning, okay? And as soon as I tie up the loose ends here, I'll bring the boys. We'll head out tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, no.
It's okay. I'll pack. You don't have to worry about a thing. I'll do.
No, you don't understand. Dad called and asked if he could come visit here. I made up that story about how I was sick. How could I do that?
You didn't know this was going to happen. You just need time for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, you don't understand. I could have seen him one more time. I could have told him that I loved him. The last thing that I said to my father was a lie.
No, hey.
So I was thinking, you know, how much cell phones would have changed this kind of breakdown, you know, right? Like, she is gone all day. They don't have any way to get a hold of her. She has a phone. She finds out, like, during her magical day. Just, I don't know. Obviously, like, you know, I talk about all the time how I hate it when people say, like, mind you, this was before the internet. But a cell phone for Jill would have really kind of altered the course of at least this scene.
Unless she sees a call from her mom and is like, oh, I don't want to deal with this on my great day, and just kind of ignores it.
Fair point. Could have happened. If that would have happened, man, she would have felt even more guilty. she's ghosting her parents, and her dad dies. That's a bad look. Tim is he's really good at acting. He's just good at the emotional acting in this scene. Every time Tim is forced to do a little bit more than grunt and talk about kielbasa, I'm always pretty impressed by his range. And in this scene was another one of those sort of emotional, well-acted Tim Allen scenes. But you know, he's good at supporting her. She's upset, but they hug, and you know, she feels very guilty about the situation. But the scene ends. Tim is going to send her down immediately the next morning, and the boys are going to come down a little bit later. So
yeah, I think well acted by both of them. Really,
yeah,
Patricia.
Yeah, I guess
you're not surprised by Patricia Richardson.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I know that she's talented and got kind of the range, but whenever Tim does this, it's a little bit more jarring. But you are right to call out both sides, because she's just as strong as he is. So
later at home, Tim is trying to round with the boys. The boys are like ironing and stuff poorly.
Why bother?
Yeah, I mean, they're putting stuff in suitcases, right? I don't quite understand the point. I don't know. I guess the one that they're wearing on the plane makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, other than that, I don't quite get it. Some things get burned, whatever. They start chatting about open caskets, and things are, you know, not as sad, I guess, as you would think with the boys and Dad right now. They start talking about, like, why people do open caskets and all this kind of stuff. And then Randy is kind of talking to Brad alone about how if he would have come, he usually sleeps in Brad's room and he could have passed away there, and all the stuff that goes along with that. And so Randy's kind of creeping out Brad, and And then Mark comes down with something that doesn't quite suit him, as you said earlier.
Hey, Mark!
He's got a suit that's, I don't know, maybe it fit him like 3 years ago. It's very, very short. It's coming up to like his mid-shin, basically, instead of at the ankles and whatnot. So Mark's not happy with his suit, nor is he happy with Randy's jokes, because he's just continuing with this kind of flippant atmosphere, making jokes. But you know what? Tim gets it. Tim gets why Randy is doing this. And there's a nice moment here. I mean, it's not nice, but it's an emotional moment between Randy and Tim where he kind of breaks down and he says, I don't know why I'm doing this. And Tim very understandingly says, hey, this is sometimes how we deal with the grief, and just be careful, consider who you're around, and if they're sensitive, maybe just make the joke with me, something like that. So very understanding Tim in this scene.
Yeah, I was glad they did that, because flippant is a good word to use, because the beginning of this scene, the jokes are in really poor taste. Everybody's just kind of busting balls and stuff about their grandpa. They don't seem especially sad at all, and it's quite bizarre. So I was glad that it came to something, and Randy, I kind of wanted him to just really stop doing that, because it was making me uncomfortable, even though obviously it's fiction. But he was really hitting the jokes hard, and they didn't seem real sad. But everybody has a unique way of expressing their own grief.
They were putting on their macho teenage male personas,
just like you do every time we record your macho male teenage persona. Jordan, I guess I do kind of want to talk about this, but I know it's a little bit of an odd subject, but open casket versus closed. When I was younger, I guess I went to mostly open casket funerals. Unfortunately, all my grandparents have passed away, and I aunts and uncles and stuff, and been to my fair share of funerals. And I guess I didn't realize until pretty recently just kind of how weird the open casket concept is, and how I definitely don't want that for my own funeral. I don't know where you stand on it.
Yeah, I haven't thought about for my own, but it seems, for me, it just is a more emotional moment, because it is like that, I don't know, there is that finality and that goodbye and seeing them for the last time. So I remember specifically also for me, like, all my grandparents have passed away, and 3 of them has passed away in the last couple of years. Yeah. So I think 2 of them were closed and 1 was open, and the one that was open was heart-wrenching for me. So
indeed.
It's tough, and I understand the concept behind it and whatnot, but I don't know. It's just tough. Maybe
you're hitting the nail on the head, and it's just that it is so much harder to face, and you just would rather not. I don't know. I don't like funerals, Jordan. I'm just going to say it.
You're taking a brave stance there.
I know. I'm saying what a lot of people won't say, is that I don't find funerals very, very pleasant. No, it's just, it's strange, and I think I see both sides to the argument, but it's difficult, and I was glad seemingly the Colonel's casket was closed. Or was it open?
We never really saw. I'm glad they didn't do something like that, though.
Although it would have... that would have been weird, but was there any visual depiction of...
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's kind of weird of Emmett Walsh in this episode. Like, you would have thought you were going to get a big photo or something, but we'll talk about the logistics of the funeral a little bit later, because I do have some questions. Kind of feels a little bit like Friends in the coffee shop at the funeral.
It's a little strange.
It's a little casual, but all right.
The next scene we're in Texas now. So we've left Michigan. We're in Texas. Jill is arriving, meeting up with a couple of her sisters. I guess at the viewing, because they're at the funeral home at this point, and they really play up like Jill's sickness in this episode.
Oh my gosh!
The news of Jill's sickness has spread across the globe.
It's
like
almost a bigger deal that Jill was sick than that her dad died.
Correct.
I mean, in my opinion,
absolutely correct. Yeah. They chat with I would say, strange funeral director. I don't know. He's an interesting fellow. Has some weird things to say, but he's around death all the time, so I'm sure that kind of colors part of that.
Hey, Jordan, you talking about Ted Allen, the actor?
I am talking about Ted Allen.
Best known for his roles in Beverly Hills 90210, Favorite Son, Ghost Dad, Bill Cosby, played executive number 3, and The Soft Kill. 29 total credits to his name. This was his second to last credit, and he kind of creeped me out. I think he was creepier than he needed to be. Just I don't know.
I'm sure that's what they wanted out of him, but
so you're saying it's a good performance?
It's a great performance.
Okay,
one of the best of the season.
Good on you, Ted. Hey, which Ted do you like better, this guy or the teddy bear from the Mark Wahlberg movies? Who's funnier? I don't know.
I don't really. Seth MacFarlane is kind of. I don't know. He's a bit much for me. So maybe this Ted.
Lowish. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing to add on that.
That's fine.
Both are creepy.
Both are creepy. Mom comes in, Lillian comes in, and she was taking care of the details at home, now has done that and come here. Everyone is she's kind of taking care of all the details everywhere. So I guess she doesn't really trust her kids to take care of all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And, maybe that's her coping mechanism as well, keeping herself busy. And another one of her coping mechanisms we're going to see a little bit later, but partly now everyone's concerned for Jill. Jill and Lily get some alone time here. I'll have to defer to you if there's anything else at the end of the scene, because my DVD was, skipping.
Okay.
So just for this scene.
Where were we?
Just basically Jill and Lily get some alone time where they're talking about her sickness, and that's all I got before it started to skip.
All right, so Lillian comes down, as you said, Jordan. We haven't seen her in a while. I do like her. She's it's a good, I don't know, good melding of actor and writing, I guess. But she's a good, strong Texan woman, just like what you like.
Me or just everyone in general?
You specifically. You like strong Texan women? I mean, I don't know. That's what you used to tell me.
Hasn't changed,
Can't
really.
wait for you to edit that out. There's a lot of really leaning, like you said earlier, they're really leaning into the sickness part. So Lillian says something like, "Do you confess?" or whatever. It's a lot of wordplay to make it seem like Lillian is maybe aware of the fact that Jill canceled on them because she didn't want him to come, as opposed to the sickness. But it's a lot of sickness play here. Further adding on to the guilt trip, the scene kind of ends with just Lily mentioning how much the Colonel was looking forward to the trip, and it's okay, could go without hearing that, but
ouchie.
Yeah. I kind of thought that Lillian might have known the whole time that Jill didn't want him to come, but didn't go that way. So
no, I kind of thought that was how it was going to go later too. But yeah, in this episode, they don't have a lot of threads going on.
No.
So we do get these redundant scenes where they're just kind of saying the same thing.
Fair point. And the next one is another one. So inside the house, I guess. I'm assuming this is the home.
Yeah, this is the Colonel and Lillian's home.
You get more of the sisters together, and the sisters are the triple Lindy, which is Roger Dangerfield. I've always got Dangerfield in the brain. No, Linda, Tracy, Carrie, and Robin. And they are really laying on the sickness stuff again. Jill, they're really making Jill kind of face her lie to her father unintentionally. Mother comes down, and there's just a lot of talk about the Colonel. A lot of talk about the Colonel kind of hating liberals, and then I was sort of struck with the fact that I guess the Colonel will probably be a Trump guy in 2019. Fair to say? I don't know. Seemingly.
Hard to know.
Seems like a safe bet. Tim and the boys arrive. Jill's really happy to see Tim because she's kind of struggling. She feels really guilty, and obviously her father passed. And there's some good jokes here about pinching from the aunt specifically, and how Tim used to get pinched, and he got pinched so hard he left a scar at a funeral and stuff along those lines. So I thought that was pretty funny. I don't exactly remember the joke, obviously, but I did enjoy it.
Well, you have always loved pinching jokes, so this is really for you.
I purposely don't wear green on St. Patrick's Day so that people will pinch me.
Wow.
I don't just like the jokes, I just like being pinched.
Yeah. Well, the boys do go into the kitchen, and lots of pinching ensues, so you would have been a happy boy at that kitchen.
Best funeral ever.
Jill wants to tell Lily the truth right here. I guess Tim and Jill get alone for a minute, and Tim tries to talk her out of it.
Yeah.
Tells another joke here because Tim's he knows the comedic timing perfectly, and it's working.
Tim is great. If you have a loved one pass or you have to go to a funeral, bring Tim, because he really knows his way around a funeral. He can handle it.
Maybe that's part of his cameo.
What do you mean?
You know the Cameo website? Maybe that's a special thing that he has on there.
Tim's too famous for Cameo.
You think so?
I mean, yeah, for sure. He doesn't need to do... He makes, like, $50 million a year on Last Man Standing. He turned down $78 million to do Home Improvement, Jordan, so he's not going to be on Cameo.
I mean, we've offered him about $30 million to come on the show, and he hasn't done it yet, so he must be fine.
Pure Michigan money. Yeah, I don't know. Redundancy is a good way to describe this, because, well, I don't want to tip my hat. Well, I did like this episode. It's pretty slow, you know, like we're just sort of slowly moving towards an inevitable outcome. One question I wanted to ask you, Jordan. If you're Jill, you don't ever tell your mom what happened, right?
It depends on how much of guilty conscience you have. Sounds like you don't.
Well, I'm asking you.
Probably. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't like to put myself in the shoes of the characters, you know? I think that blurs the line a little bit between reality and fiction, so...
Really? Because I feel like we do that almost every week.
I'm just kidding.
It sounds like you would be forced to kind of reckon with some internal stuff, and I don't blame you for not wanting to do it. I probably wouldn't, only because, like, I don't know. I don't want to make
you take it to your grave?
It's kind of hard because, like, if you don't tell her now, then you can't really ever tell her. Like, in a month, are you going to be like, oh yeah, by the way, it's going to kind of seem weird. So I don't know what I would do. Yeah, I kind of felt like it seemed like a bad time for Jill to tell her, just because, like, I know there's a lot going on, but I also get Jill kind of wanting to be the guilt to kind of be gone. So
I think she would be less inclined to tell if not everyone was talking about her being sick the whole time.
Yeah. If she gets down there and no one cares about her sickness, maybe it isn't such a big deal. But yeah, they really lean into that. So Jordan, we cut to the funeral. I'm going to let you take this scene. You are, because you do like to talk about funerals.
Sure. I've been known for that. Later, I mean, I don't know if this is the funeral. This is where it's kind of confusing.
This is where it's like they're hanging at fucking, like the Friends coffee shop. Like everybody just like sitting on couches, kind of got one-liners. It's super informal. No one's standing. Where's the body? It was weird. Yeah, I didn't
so actually, I didn't consider this a funeral. I didn't think they had a funeral. I didn't think they showed the funeral. I thought the funeral was going to be at that place where the funeral director was. Okay. So I thought that this was like afterwards. Sometimes after a funeral, you'll have a meal, and all that kind of stuff, and be there with the family and whatnot. I thought that's what this was.
Could have been that. Why is the minister kind of taking charge and forcing people to talk, though? You know.
Well, he's just kind of the MC of the event, I suppose.
Of the after event. Hey, buddy, funeral's over. Go home.
He wanted the meal.
It'll eat in silence like the rest of us. Jeez. It is weird, though. Yeah, it's more casual than any...
Well, he seemed to know the Colonel pretty well, so...
Maybe they served together?
No, he talked about... Well, I don't think so. He seems much younger, but the minister talks about how, you know, he was at the church, and one of his things was that he always... You know, this is another thing that goes with Jill, but he was always into telling the truth and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he knew him pretty well.
Do you think that the Colonel was involved in Operation Koh-Sam-Wee from Meet the Parents?
What's wrong with you?
Do you know what I'm talking about? Operation Koh-Sam-Wee?
Yeah, is that the one where they try to figure out if the boy belongs to Ben Stiller?
No, that's in the second one. Operation Koh-Sam-Wee in the first Meet the Parents.
Oh, that's
it's the honeymoon.
Honeymoon,
but
yeah.
He thinks that like Jack isn't involved in the CIA again. A little thing called Operation Koh-Sam-Wee, Jack.
Oh man, that first one is so good.
Oh man, yeah. The reason I'm bringing it up is because Kirsten and I were talking about it last night, and yeah, timeless movie, fantastic.
So timeless.
Just like this episode of Home Improvement. Yeah, all right.
And the second movie, what does he have a name for that operation?
I don't know. The second one is funny, but it becomes pretty slapstick. I love Dustin Hoffman, but like. Man, I don't know. A lot of macho wacho talk in that one. The third one is like
macho wacho.
Dustin Hoffman says macho wacho like
I know
50 times in that movie. Love Dustin Hoffman. The third one is horrible.
I've never seen the third one.
You should watch it just to see how bad it is. It's crazy.
Well, maybe someday.
Third one's closer to Norbit than the original Meet the Parents. Norbit!
You don't say anything bad against Norbit.
I'm mad at him. Hey.
All right. So we're at this after party for the funeral. Is that what we're calling this?
It's a funny funeral. I don't know. That's all I'm going to tell you.
All right, so at this after funeral, there are some jokes and stories about the colonel. As you said, the minister is kind of taking charge and kind of telling people, this would be a good time to share some stories. So Tim gets up, talks about the first time that they met the colonel. The thread of these stories for Tim is the colonel was always trying to get rid of him. Years and years later, he did the same thing. We talk about, as we mentioned earlier, the minister shares he was always an honest man, and he instilled that to his children. And then it's time for Jill to step up and say something as things are just really eating at her more and more every moment. And she can't do it. She says, I need to talk to my mom in private. So they go into, I guess, the office, the colonel's office, maybe? What is that?
It's the Office theme, you jackwagon.
Oh, okay. It was a bad rendition of The Office.
Let's let the audience decide via a poll.
You know who's left to entertain the room?
Tim.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, though, the thing where they make people talk about someone that has passed away, have you ever experienced that? No, like where they come around the room and are like, share memories you have. Not a eulogy, but like an informal thing. Have you ever been around that?
Not one that didn't happen organically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like nobody was being put on the spot. Like, hey, it's your turn to share.
No, I haven't been like that. But where it's like, if anyone has anything to say, yeah, I don't know.
I can't really remember that. I do remember at a couple of funerals I've been to. There's the certain family members that do say something, and then other people just kind of come up.
Yeah, like they don't really have anything to say.
Well, I mean, they might have something to say, but they weren't necessarily scheduled to say something.
Oh, okay.
And so they do.
Are you the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral? Can't understand what it means, but you soon will.
It's a pretty ambiguous question. I think I, much like Randy, would process things a little bit like that, where like I'm looking to not necessarily make light of things, but trying to bring people a little bit more joy in that type of moment.
Okay, but I'm the opposite. I would just like get really.
You're
weepy.
Very somber.
Just get really weepy. Yeah, for sure.
Really weepy.
Yep.
I mean, there's definitely moments of that for sure. I think it's a roller coaster of an event. Because it's one of those things where
that implies that there is a kind of a high point to it.
Well, I think for a lot of people, especially for family, sometimes they only see their family at these types of events, weddings and funerals and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, so if you haven't seen someone for a long time, or maybe like a friend shows up they haven't seen for a long time, you can have those moments within this somber event, but I don't think that's the whole thing. Now I feel like I've heard people talking about having more like celebrations of people.
I went to one of those within the last year.
What's that like? I don't know. I've never been to something like that.
So I also want to go back to what that when I said, "Are you the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral?" I didn't think you were going to answer it. It's a Bare Naked Lady lyric from that song. It's been 1 week. So, but I am glad to hear you answer it. So a celebration. I went to one. What's it like? These people were very wealthy that had it, so it might have been different than some. But outside, under tents, lots of food, lots of drink. There was like a slideshow kind of thing, and then some people made some speeches, and they did kind of open the floor up to if anyone wants to say anything about this person, then feel free. But I mean, it was still exceedingly sad. I didn't know the person, but it was still sad for me, and very sad for the people that knew him. But yeah, I mean, probably a better atmosphere than a funeral, certainly. But I don't know. It kind of just depends on what you want to do. But it was a unique thing, and the food was good. I guess it's hard to say. Like I didn't have fun at it, but it worked for them, and I could see it working for some people. But yeah, I mean, I definitely get the appeal, or get why people would want to do that to be sure. Yeah.
Where do we leave off? Oh, now we're in the room. What a tangent.
Yeah.
What a tangent that was.
This episode is bringing out some weird stuff. Death will do that, man.
Death at a funeral. Jill and Lily in the office. This is a pivotal moment in this episode. So, It's kind of what you talked about, this kind of like slow burn that really is leading here.
Yeah.
Basically. So we're finally there. Jill just kind of comes out with it. She lied to Dad. And this is kind of funny, to me at least. Like, they do this in this episode, I think, pretty well, where they're kind of injecting like little lines of humor in a very somber type of episode. And so she says in response, she doesn't know exactly what she's talking about. She said, "He knew you voted Democrat," which I thought was kind of funny. She comes out with the actual truth that she meant to share, though, which is, obviously what we've been talking about earlier. And she says, well, what would have happened if you would have told the Colonel the truth? He would have ignored you. He had his own way. And then they shared some stories. They're reminiscing a little bit about how he was pushy and stubborn and drove me crazy, but we miss him so much. So, they loved him a lot, and Lily misses her husband, obviously. And Lily then says, the thing that sets Jill free, which is, the Colonel would not want you to torture yourself over a silly little flib.
I mean, a flib is very silly.
A flippant flib. No, a silly little fib. And it's a nice touching moment here between mother and daughter.
I notice you neglected to talk about the Elvis section here.
I got the Elvis section right after this.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So they do see a picture, and they talk about that hound dog Elvis, and apparently he was he was under the Colonel's command at some point. Who do you think the hound dog was written about? And apparently that's the Colonel. I did see some IMDb trivia where the chronological order of events there isn't quite right, but it's a good line nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And then they see a ratty old stuffed animal of Jill's that she talks about, and the Colonel kept it because it reminded him of her. Aww.
I was kind of weird that... It was kind of weird that Polly Holiday seemed to take sort of pride in the fact that Hound Dog was written about the Colonel. Isn't hound dogging kind of like, I don't know, running around with women? Isn't that kind of the subtext for hound dog? Wouldn't that sort of be the implication?
I think she took it as him just being like an old blowhard,
Okay, that's a good way to read it, but perhaps not an accurate way. Follow up. Yet another example of a home improvement person sort of interacting with a rock legend. Third time this season. We got Beach Boys, Beatles, and now Elvis.
Just wait, the season finale is all about the Temptations.
Oh, man. Just kind of funny. I don't know. It just keeps happening. Yeah, I mean, Jill mentions at the end of the scene that she thinks maybe her mom should move to Michigan, but she says that she can't make that decision right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, and she'd be moving away from all of her other daughters, so...
Yeah, for sure. Also, Jill, you just lied. You just lied to not have to see your parents, so, maybe you actually don't want that as much as you think you do now.
Just trying to make up for it right now.
Back inside the funny funeral, Tim talks about getting strip searched. That's it.
That guy had big hands. That hound dog.
That hound dog. Maybe that's what they're talking about. That hound dog had big hands. Inside, final scene here. This is where the Bizarro Tim kind of takes place, and we haven't really talked about it. Tim is not in a lot of this episode, but he really handles himself well. He's a great husband. He's an entertaining guy at the funeral. Says all the right things, and Jill, she compliments him on that. And this is kind of where we talk about, I guess I already said it, the Bizarro Tim, but it's how long is it going to last? And Tim says not much longer. So that's sort of the gist of it. That's all I got.
I just read my notes here, and it reminded me that Jill is talking about finishing up a eulogy here. So I guess the funeral hasn't happened yet.
Okay, I didn't get that note. Eulogy, man. What
the order of events is very confusing.
What was that thing? What were they doing? Is that like a rehearsal?
No. I don't know. I was trying to think, because sometimes they have viewings and stuff, but
yeah, but that
a lot of times that happens at the funeral home.
I don't know. I mean, I guess there's no hard and fast rule for funerals. I don't know, but that was a funny one, a funny funeral. Roll credits, fade to black. Before we get into highs and lows, I mentioned a tribute that I wanted to do. Okay.
Yep.
Do you mind if I go ahead and do that? Is it cool if I do that, Jordan? Or
I wouldn't think there's nothing cooler than you doing this right now.
All right. I want everybody to think about how the restraint I showed this whole episode in not doing my Colonel impression, and because now I'm gonna do it. Hi Taylor, I will remember you. Will you? Don't let your Colonel pass you by. Weep not for the Colonel. Taylor, I love Patton. That's it.
It would have been, that was very touching.
Thank you. Don't say it would have been better if, because that's it. That's what I did.
No. I was just wondering, what are the chances that at the funeral, the Colonel, sometimes they have, like, somebody record something before they pass away or whatever. The Colonel records that message.
The Colonel recorded himself farting in a lounge chair watching Patton.
Boys, watch this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, he didn't do that, unfortunately. So I'm surprised, they had the episode before where Jill gets, like, stuff left down, like, handed down or whatever from Polly.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they didn't have, like, a scene there where, like, people are getting stuff from Patton, or getting stuff from the Colonel, and he's, like, giving people his, like, Patton videos and stuff like that.
Like shotgun shells and stuff.
It would have been, like, a good way to bookend the episode, but also just not make the middle drag so much with all of the, like, hey, Jill, you're sick, let's take care of you. Hey, do you feel guilty yet?
Hey, Jill, are you going to almost tell us that you lied? Okay, no, not this scene. Okay, next scene. Are you going to tell us? Okay, no, next scene. Okay, sure, yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Obviously, sad to see the Colonel go, but we live on through his songs, such as that one. Jordan, highs and lows.
Yeah, we're at Castle's Corner now.
Let's do it.
Highs, you mentioned earlier Tim and Jill and just kind of their emotional acting in this episode, and it just kind of shows their range as actors, and I think they did really well. And that, we don't get much of the boys in this episode, but I did like the scene between Tim and Randy and another, again, like, emotional moment between them there and whatnot. Mark, it was funny to see him come down in that suit. I thought he did that well. Maybe he's just one of those actors, like a slapstick actor, and we just didn't know it,
It's kind of like a Charlie Chaplin.
He's been waiting in the wings all the day long. I mean, really the only negative that I have in this episode, as we've talked about through the episode, is they just kind of, like, double and triple and quadruple down on the same type of scene over and over again.
For sure.
And then, like you said earlier, that one scene did seem like a little strange with the boys before they, like, made it amount to something. So I don't know if that's just something that was kind of intentional, or maybe they could have done it a little bit better. But I think this is a good episode. I think it's interesting. I think it's, it's sad because we lose the Colonel and we're not going to see him anymore. But it's something a little bit different than we get from the Taylors. There's no, stop motion, crazy 3D, or, like,
3D
weird
dead Colonel. That would have been in poor taste.
That would have been bad. There's no, like, weird gimmicks going on there, and I don't think we're here for the gimmicks anymore. So,
no.
What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I did like it. Highs, Tim's acting, Tim stepping up to the plate. The emotional scenes are good. Well acted on by both Tim and Jill. Tim has some good jokes at the funeral as well, and, like, in general says some kind of funny things. The pinching stuff was good. Funeral episode, always noteworthy. People, only so many people can die on a show, so you got to really embrace these episodes, enjoy them, because we might not get another one. Hopefully we don't.
Unless it's Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but they don't have funerals. They don't have, like, sentimental funeral episodes like this. They just, like...
They just burn people on a funeral pyre?
Yeah, they just bury the bodies and then, move on. I did like it. Lowe's... Yeah, like you mentioned, I think redundancy and just, like... The whole stuff with, like, everybody leaning into Jill being sick was just kind of absurd. Like, that... I can't think that would happen. It was just sort of cartoonish and overdone. The funny funeral thing was confusing, I guess. Maybe we're too hung up on that, but I just didn't quite get what was happening there. And the flippancy of the boy, of Randy's jokes just seemed a little, like, I don't know, maybe like have 2 less jokes in that scene, and it maybe is a little bit stronger. Like, I understand what they were going for with that, and how Randy, much like his father, has a tendency to lean into the humor when he's uncomfortable or as a means of processing something that's difficult. But I felt like there was just a little too many jokes there in the beginning. I don't know, kind of felt a little gross. But ultimately, I did like the episode. R.I.P. Colonel, rest in Patton, you will be missed. But, M. Emmett Walsh is, he's still in Righteous Gemstones and stuff. So he had another 20 plus years of good life ahead of him. So.
True, but no more Colonel.
No more Colonel, unless maybe as a ghost. I don't know. That's gonna happen.
Talk about gimmicks.
Yeah,
They're going to start bringing out ghosts. Jeez. All right, let's move on to the social media aspect here. So if you want to reach out to us,
social media aspect. Wow.
How many different names am I going to be able to come up with?
Let's go about the social media aspect of the show. Hey, let's do it by all means.
Go to thehomeandpodcast.com, Twitter, Facebook, where handles are at Home and Podcast. If you want to go to patreon.com/homeandpodcast, there you can have our bonus episodes, including one we just released on Cheers, the season 3 episode, Fairy Tales Can Come True. So that was a good hang with me and Adam. About 47 minutes of fun. And you can also leave us a review on your iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever app you use to access these episodes, and that helps other people find us, so we appreciate you doing that. Adam, I don't know what you've been doing for polls. I just see lots of retweets of polls, so I just assume there's like 900 out there. Mm-hmm. Do you want to share any of them?
Just 3. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see here. First poll. Best athlete of the group. 19 total votes. I gave a group of home improvement characters. I want to know who the best athlete is. 11% said Mark. 21% said Jill. 26% said Marty. 42% said Tim. What do you think?
Who voted for Mark? I want to know the explanation.
All right, the correct ranking is the best athlete of the group.
I think it's right. Although I guess I don't know if Jill has Jill ever been an athlete?
I don't know. I feel like she could be athletic. It's a fair ranking here. All right. Who eats the most at a Chinese buffet? 23 total votes. 13% said Tim. 22% said Marty. He's back from Africa, by the way, William O'Leary. 30% said Harry. 35% said Al. Any qualms?
No, Benny.
No, it's too obvious.
Too easy.
I think Harry could maybe Tim, though. Tim, I think we're going off of like body type here, but like Tim, he's always talking about eating the kielbasa
sausages
and ham trammick and all the. I don't know. He can maybe do some damage. All right, last poll here. Who's the worst tipper of the group? 33 total votes. 9%.
33 total votes.
Yeah, obviously, Jordan. We're big time. 9% said Wilson. 12% said Al. 15% said Jill. 64% said Tim. Yeah, I buy Tim. Tim's the kind of guy that's like, well, nobody tips me to do my job.
He probably just doesn't know how to calculate it in his head either.
Yeah, right, yeah. Otherwise, Brett White, friend of the show, past and maybe future guest. We're talking about doing something for Christmas. He tweeted like a 31 days of Halloween sitcoms article that just has 31 different sitcoms. So Home Improvement is one of them. And then I also tweeted an article that he wrote about a year ago about The Haunting of Taylor House being the best Halloween episode ever made. So check those out if you haven't done so. Brett writes some good home improvement related content and just pop culture content in general. The Halloween stuff is we got a new listener here called at Zach Takes, and he was talking about Halloween episodes. He says that he likes the Clifford Warren episode that we covered pretty recently as well, and we like that one a lot too. I don't know where that'll break out for our season in summation episode next week, but it could be in the top 3. I don't want to spoil anything, but
it's coming up. It's coming up soon.
It could be there. So yeah. Other than that though, nothing new on Twitter. Follow at Home Podcasts. Good polls, good fun, good interactions, etc.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's all for the social media aspect of this episode.
Man, that really rolls off the tongue. The social media aspect of the show. Yeah, I love it.
I knew you would. I did it for you and no one else.
Jordan, I know it's season in summation next week, but what are we covering in addition to that?
We're covering The Kiss. in the kiss off?
Oh, yeah. I would say, just to, I don't know if we get new listeners at this point or not, but season in summation, we are going to cover the episode as a whole, give some lists, top 3, bottom 3 episodes, guest stars, things of that nature. I never remember what we do until we have to do it again, and then I have to go listen to the previous one.
I think it's like MVP, top 3, bottom 3. Yeah. I think sometimes we used to do moments, but it just kind of gets wrapped up into top 3, bottom 3.
For sure. So look forward to that next week, and then, man, crazy. We'll be moving on to season 7, which will be bananas.
Bananas.
But with that in mind, Jordan, thank you for joining me. Listeners, thank you for listening. And I guess I should say, rest in peace, Colonel, and take care.
Take care, everyone.